October 3rd, 2020, Ogbomoso, Nigeria. Jimoh Isiaq is 16 years old when the bullet finds him. He's running. Not because he's done anything wrong, not because he's stolen or fought or broken any law. He's running because in Nigeria, when you see the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, your instincts take over. Your legs move before your mind can process. You run. The officers are raiding a hotel. It's a Saturday. Jimoh is nearby, maybe curious, maybe just in the wrong place. The details blur in the chaos. What doesn't blur is the sound, the crack of gunfire splitting the afternoon air. What doesn't blur is Jimoh's body hitting the ground. What doesn't blur is the blood. He dies before sunset. His name joins a list that's been growing for years, a list Nigerian youth know by heart, a list their parents warn them about in hushed tones, a list the government pretends doesn't exist. But this time, something breaks. Rewind 6 hours. Lagos, Nigeria's commercial heart, is waking up like any other day. 20 million people moving through the humid heat. Down-for buses belching exhaust. Street hawkers calling out their wares. Young professionals in traffic scrolling through Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp, the digital oxygen of Nigerian life. And SARS is haunting. They don't wear uniforms. That's the thing that makes it worse. They roll up in unmarked vehicles, Sienna vans, tinted Camrys, beat-up trucks that could belong to anyone. They are looking for Yahoo boys, internet fraudsters, but their definition is elastic, dangerously elastic. Do you have an iPhone? Suspicious. Are your dreadlocks too long? Suspicious. Does your laptop look expensive? Suspicious. Do you look too successful, too confident, too young to have what you have? Suspicious. They pull you over. They go through your phone, reading your messages, your bank statements, your private photos. They demand explanations for every transaction. And if you can't satisfy them, if they decide you can't, you disappear into an unmarked vehicle. Maybe your family gets a call demanding ransom. Maybe they don't get a call at all. The extortion is routine. The torture is common. The killings are frequent enough that everyone knows someone who didn't make it home. For years, Nigerian youth have absorbed this reality like it's weather. Unchangeable, inevitable, the price of existing in your own country. But something's been shifting beneath the surface, something generational. These aren't the youth of their parents' generation, the ones who survived military dictatorships by keeping their heads down, their voices low, their expectations lower. These are digital natives, connected, globalized. They've watched Arab Spring on Twitter. They've seen Black Lives Matter shake America. They've witnessed what happens when people refuse to accept brutality as normal. And they've been documenting. For years, the videos have been piling up on Nigerian Twitter. Shaky phone footage of SARS officers beating young men on roadsides. Screenshots of extortion demands. Voice notes of victims describing their torture. Photos of bodies that families were told died during arrest. The government's response? Denial, restructuring, empty promises. In 2017, they promised to reform SARS. In 2018, they promised again. In 2019, another promise, another committee, another press release. And every time, within weeks, the abuses resumed. The pattern was clear. They weren't going to fix SARS. They were going to wait for people to forget, to move on, to accept it. But October 3rd, 2020, Jimoh Isiaq doesn't get to move on. The news of his death hits Twitter like voltage through water. Within an hour, the hashtag appears, End SARS. It's not new. Nigerians have used it before, in smaller waves that rose and fell without changing anything. But this time, something's different. This time, the exhaustion has reached critical mass. This time, the thread doesn't just trend, it explodes. By evening, it's not just a hashtag, it's a movement. Young Nigerians are tweeting their stories, thousands of them. The timeline becomes a collective testimony, a digital truth commission that the government can't shut down, can't spin, can't make disappear. SARS broke my brother's arm and took 200,000 naira from my mother. They stripped me naked on the roadside and made me unlock my banking app. They killed my friend and called it suicide. Story after story, name after name, evidence after evidence. And this generation, this connected, angry, exhausted generation realizes something powerful. They are not alone. The rage that each of them carried individually, privately, thinking maybe it was just their story, their bad luck, it's collective, it's systemic, it's shared by millions. And rage, when it's shared, becomes something else entirely. It becomes power. October 8th, 2020. 5 days after Jimoh's death, the streets of Lagos are filling. Not with the usual chaos of commerce and hustle. This is different. This is organized. This is intentional. Thousands of young Nigerians are walking out of their homes, their offices, their universities, converging on locations announced hours earlier on Twitter. Lekki, Alausa, Ikeja, names that will become historic. They are not marching behind anyone. There are no political party banners, no union leaders with megaphones, no elder statesmen organizing from the shadows. This is something the old guard doesn't understand, something that will confuse them until it's too late to stop it. This is a leaderless movement, and it's terrifying the government because you can't behead what has no head. Rinu Odwala is 22 years old when she becomes one of the faces Nigeria can't look away from. She didn't plan it, didn't campaign for it. She was just another young Nigerian on Twitter, adding her voice to the digital chorus. But something about her tweets, the clarity, the fearlessness, the refusal to be diplomatic, catches fire. Within days, she's helping coordinate protest locations. She's verifying information in real time. She's organizing legal support for arrested protesters. She's doing what would normally take a political campaign months to build, except she's doing it with a smartphone and a Wi-Fi connection. And she's not alone. Polarin Falana, Falz, the rapper and activist, is using his platform to amplify the movement. His music videos have always carried social commentary, but now he's on the ground, marching with the protesters. His celebrity status is a shield they desperately need. Feminist Coalition, a group of young women organizers, sets up a cryptocurrency wallet to fund the movement. Within hours, donations pour in from Nigerians in the diaspora. London, Houston, Toronto, Johannesburg, Bitcoin and Ethereum flowing into a leaderless revolution. They are buying food for protesters, medical supplies, legal representation, building infrastructure for a movement that has no center, no office, no traditional organization. The government doesn't know how to fight it. FK Abudu, a tech entrepreneur, watches from his office in Ikoyi as his feed transforms into something unprecedented. He's seen activism before. Nigeria has never lacked for causes. But this is different. The sophistication of the coordination, the speed of information flow, the way misinformation gets corrected almost instantly by the crowd itself. He tweets, "This is what happens when you push an entire generation too far." Within minutes, it's retweeted 10,000 times. What the government still doesn't grasp is that they are not fighting a protest, they are fighting a network. Every young Nigerian with a smartphone is a node. Every retweet is an amplification. Every Instagram story is documentation that can't be erased. The traditional tools of suppression, cutting off the head, intimidating the leaders, dividing the organizers, don't work against the swarm. By October 10th, #EndSARS is spreading beyond Lagos. Abuja, Port Harcourt, Benin City, Ibadan, Calabar. In every major city, the youth are walking out, not dozens, not hundreds, tens of thousands in each location. The protests are peaceful, deliberately, strategically peaceful. They are singing the national anthem, waving Nigerian flags, making it impossible for the government to frame them as troublemakers or foreign-sponsored agitators. They are cleaning up after themselves, picking up trash, directing traffic around their protests. They are showing Nigeria what its youth can do when they organize, when they care, when they believe change is possible. And the international community is watching. CNN picks up the story, BBC, Al Jazeera. But it's not traditional media that's driving the narrative, it is Twitter. Nigerian influencers, celebrities, activists are threading their experiences in real time. International celebrities are amplifying them. Beyoncé tweets #EndSARS. John Boyega, Cardi B, Kanye West, Drake. Suddenly, the Nigerian government is facing something it's never faced before: global accountability in real time. They can't control the narrative. They can't threaten journalists into silence. The story is being told by millions of voices simultaneously. Jack Dorsey, Twitter CEO, tweets the #EndSARS. The Nigerian government demands he take it down. He refuses. For the first time, Nigerian youth realize they have leverage. Not the leverage of violence or destruction, the leverage of attention. The world is watching. An authoritarian government's heat being watched. October 12th, the Nigerian government announces they are disbanding SARS. The protesters don't celebrate. They don't go home. They've heard this before. 2017, 2018, 2019, empty promises, rebranded units, same officers, different name tags. The demands evolve, mature, sharpen. They don't just want SARS disbanded. They want immediate release of all arrested protesters, justice for victims of police brutality, psychological evaluation and retraining of all dismissed SARS officers, increased police salaries and better working conditions, independent oversight of police conduct. These are not the demands of a mob. These are policy proposals, detailed, researched, sophisticated. The government realizes they are not dealing with angry kids throwing rocks. They are dealing with educated, organized citizens who understand governance and refuse to be placated with symbolic gestures. And that's when things get dangerous. Because the Nigerian government isn't just fighting protesters, it's fighting a mirror. These young people marching in the streets, they are the children of Nigeria's promise. They are university graduates who can't find jobs, tech entrepreneurs building startups in a country with collapsing infrastructure, artists creating world-class music while dodging police extortion. Doctors and engineers and designers who've watched their country's potential drain away through corruption and mismanagement. They are the generation that was supposed to inherit a better Nigeria. Instead, they inherited SARS. They inherited collapsed power grids and crumbling roads. They inherited political dynasties that have been recycling the same faces for decades. They are the generation that was treated like criminals until proven otherwise. And they are done inheriting. They are ready to build. October 15th, Lekki Toll Gate, Lagos. What starts as another protest location becomes something more, something historic. The protesters aren't just occupying the toll gate, they are transforming it. Someone sets up a DJ booth, music pumps through speakers, food vendors arrive, feeding protesters for free. Artists paint murals on the pavement, medical tents pop up, legal aid stations, charging stations for phones. It's a protest, yes, but it's also a glimpse of something else. It's the Nigeria they want to build. Multi-ethnic, organized, creative, caring for each other. No one's checking if you are Yoruba or Igbo or Hausa. No one's asking your religion. You're here because you believe Nigeria can be better. And for 2 weeks on that stretch of road in Lagos, it is better. Young people are sleeping on the asphalt under Nigerian flags. They are taking shifts, guarding, cleaning, coordinating. They've created a mini society that functions better than the government they are protesting. It's beautiful. It's hopeful. It's terrifying to those in power. Because it's proof, living proof, that Nigerian youth don't need the old systems. They can build new ones, better ones. And that kind of proof is more dangerous than any weapon. The government watches and plans. October 17th, 2020. Lekki Toll Gate. The sun is setting over Lagos, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. But the crowd at Lekki isn't watching the sunset. They are watching their phones. A new hashtag is trending. Hashtag Lekki Massacre. Except it hasn't happened yet. Someone leaked a government memo. Or maybe it's a rumor. Or maybe it's intelligence from a sympathetic insider. The details are murky, but the warning is clear. They are coming for Lekki. The protesters debate through the night. Some say leave, regroup, leave to fight another day. Others say stay, stand your ground, show them we are not afraid. By morning, thousands have made their choice. They are staying. Across Nigeria, the pressure is building in ways both visible and invisible. In Abuja, government officials are holding emergency meetings. The protests have lasted longer than anyone has expected. The international attention is becoming embarrassing. Investors are asking questions. The diaspora is sending money faster than they can track it. But it's not just about optics anymore. The protesters have exposed something the government has spent decades trying to hide: the rot at the foundation of Nigerian policing. And once people see it, really see it, you can't unsee it. State governors are calling for action. Security chiefs are making recommendations. The language in closed-door meetings is shifting from manage to contain to something darker. Neutralize. October 19th, Lagos State Government issues a curfew. 24 hours notice. Starting 4 p.m. the next day, no one on the streets. It's a transparent move. Everyone knows what it's really saying. Clear out or we'll clear you out. At Lekki Toll Gate, the protesters hold an emergency assembly. No microphones, no stage, just thousands of young people sitting on the road, talking, debating, deciding their fate democratically. Some are scared. They should be. In Nigeria, when the government says curfew, they mean business. Others are defiant. We have come too far. If we leave now, it means nothing. They will win again. A young woman stands up. Her name is lost to history, but her words aren't. My brother was killed by SARS 3 years ago. I didn't protest then. I was too scared, too tired. I thought nothing would change. But look at us now. Look at what we've built here. If we run now, his death meant nothing. All of their deaths meant nothing. The crowd is silent. Then someone starts singing the national anthem. Thousands join in. They are staying. October 20th, 2020, 6:47 p.m. The curfew has started 2 hours ago, but Lekki toll gate is still full. Not as many as before. Some families pulled their children home, some workers had to leave, but hundreds remain. Maybe 1,000. They are sitting, singing, waving flags. The Nigerian flag, green and white. The flag they've been taught to salute since primary school. The flag that is supposed to represent unity, peace, progress. They believe in it, even now, especially now. That's what makes what comes next so devastating. The lights go out first. The street lights that illuminate the toll gate, they shut off all at once. Someone cut the power. Then the billboard lights, the toll plaza light, everything. Darkness swallows Lekki. For a moment, there's confusion. Is it just a power outage? NEPA, the electric company, is always cutting power. Maybe it's just bad timing. But then they hear the trucks. Military trucks, heavy vehicles rolling up from both directions, boxing them in. Soldiers spill out. Nigerian army, fully armed, combat formation. The protesters' phones come out immediately. This is what they've been trained to do. Document everything, live stream, upload, let the world see. But then something strange happens. The cell towers go down. One by one across Lekki, the signals die. No calls, no internet, no live streams. The protesters are alone in the dark with the Nigerian military. Someone will later call it a calculated operation. The lights, the towers, the timing. In the moment, it's just terrifying. The protesters do what they've done for 2 weeks. They sit, they sing, they wave their flags harder. They are chanting, "We are Nigerian youth. We are peaceful protesters." Some are crying. Some are praying. Some are filming on phones that won't upload, hoping they will get signal back, hoping there will be a later to upload to. A voice booms over a loudspeaker from the military formation. Disperse immediately. This is your final warning. The protesters link arms. They keep singing the national anthem. 7:05. The first shots crack through the air. At first, some think they are blanks. Warning shots. Rubber bullets, maybe. Then people start falling. Real bullets. Live rounds. Soldiers firing into a crowd of seated, unarmed protesters, waving Nigerian flags and singing the Nigerian national anthem. The crowd scatters, stampede, chaos, people running in darkness, not knowing which way is safe, only knowing they need to move, need to get away from the gunfire. But the toll gate is designed to control traffic. There are limited exit points. The military has blocked them. They are trapped. The shooting continues. Witnesses will later argue how long. 7 minutes, 15, 20. In the dark, with bullets flying, time becomes meaningless. What is not meaningless is the bodies. Young Nigerians falling, bleeding, calling for help that isn't coming, calling for parents, for God, for anyone. DJ Switch, a celebrity DJ who's been performing at the protest, is on the ground with her phone. She's live streaming on Instagram. Somehow, her phone still has signal, or maybe she recorded it to upload later. The footage is dark, chaotic, horrifying. You can hear the gunfire. You can hear the screaming. You can see her trying to help people who've been shot, her hands covered in blood, her voice breaking as she speaks to the camera. They are killing us. The Nigerian army is killing us. By 9 p.m., the shooting has stopped. The soldiers withdraw. The lights stay off. What's left at Lekki toll gate is a scene from a war zone, except this isn't war. This is a government firing on its own citizens. The injured are everywhere. The dead, the count will be disputed for years, but survivors know what they saw. They counted bodies. They helped carry them. They watched soldiers load them into trucks. The government will later claim only 2 people died. Protesters will say dozens. The truth is in the blood-soaked darkness, and the soldiers who cleaned up the scene aren't talking. What is undisputed is this: the Nigerian government opened fire on unarmed youth waving Nigerian flags. And they did it in the dark, with the cameras off, thinking no one would know. But this is 2020. You can kill the cell towers for a few hours, but you can't kill them forever. By midnight, the videos start uploading. Dozens, hundreds, shaky phone footage, voice recordings, photos of bullet casings, testimonies from survivors. Hashtag Lekki Massacre trends worldwide. Not just in Nigeria, globally. The Nigerian government's official statement comes quickly. No massacre occurred. There were no fatalities. The reports are false. But the videos are everywhere. The testimonies are everywhere. The blood is everywhere. The government has made a catastrophic miscalculation. They thought they could crush the movement with violence. Instead, they've just shown the world, and more importantly, shown Nigerian youth exactly what they are fighting against. October 21st, morning. Lagos is burning. Not Lekki. The protesters at Lekki were peaceful, but across Lagos, rage has taken over. Police stations are being set on fire. Government buildings attacked. It's not organized. It's not strategic. It's just fury. The government uses it as cover. See, they say to international media, see how violent these protesters are. But Nigerians know better. They know who started the violence. They know who fired first. DJ Switch goes into hiding. The Nigerian army announces they are looking for her, not to protect her, to arrest her. She eventually flees the country. Reno and other prominent voices receive death threats. Their bank accounts are frozen. The government is no longer pretending. The message is clear. Speak up and we will destroy you. But here's what the government still doesn't understand. You can't arrest a hashtag. You can't freeze cryptocurrency wallets fast enough. You can't threaten an entire generation into silence. The End SARS movement isn't one person. It's not 10 people. It's millions of young Africans who watched Lekki happen and learned the most important lesson authoritarianism can teach. The system will never reform itself. You have to force it. October 22nd, 2020. Diaspora. In Houston, a Nigerian medical student named Adaize watches the Lekki videos on loop. She's been crying for hours. Her hands are shaking as she types out another tweet, another email to her congressman, another donation to the legal defense funds. She left Nigeria 5 years ago for opportunities she couldn't find at home. She sends money back every month to her parents, her siblings, cousins trying to start businesses. She's one of millions in the diaspora, scattered across the world, but still tethered to home by invisible threads of love and obligation. But tonight, those threads feel like chains. Because she's safe in Houston, while her little brother, 23, a graphic designer, peaceful, brilliant, was at Lekki toll gate. He made it out alive, but he'll never be the same. His voice on the phone earlier was hollow, distant. They shot at us like we were animals, sis. like we were nothing. Adaeze isn't alone. From London to Dubai, Toronto to Johannesburg, the diaspora is mobilizing. They're organizing protests outside Nigerian embassies. They are calling representatives. They are writing op-eds. They are ensuring that the world doesn't look away, doesn't let Nigeria disappear this story the way it's disappeared so many others. The Nigerian government has miscalculated again. They thought geography would protect them. They forgot that in the digital age, distance is an illusion. Nigerian youth are everywhere, and they are all watching. In Lagos, the government is trying to regain control of the narrative, but it's like trying to hold water in a fist. They set up judicial panels to investigate police brutality. They promise compensation for victims. They announce police reforms again. But the youth aren't listening anymore. How do you trust investigations from the same government that just shot you? How do you believe promises from people who've been lying for decades? The protests don't return to their previous scale. How could they after Lekki? Fear is a powerful weapon. That's why governments use it. But the movement doesn't die. It transforms. The feminist coalition, which had coordinated so much of the logistics, officially disbands. But the women behind it don't disappear. They're just moving differently now. Quieter, more careful. They've learned what every revolutionary movement learns. Sometimes you have to go underground to survive. They are setting up community initiatives, legal aid networks, mental health support for traumatized protesters, educational programs about civic participation. The government can freeze their accounts, but they can't freeze the knowledge they've gained, can't erase the networks they've built, can't stop them from teaching others what they've learned about organizing, about digital security, about power. Renew Odwala receives a summons. The Lagos State Judicial Panel wants her testimony about NSAS. It could be a trap. Many think it is, but she goes anyway. November 17th, 2020. She sits before the panel, government officials, retired judges, representatives from civil society, and she doesn't hold back. She speaks for 2 hours. She names names. She presents evidence. She talks about young Nigerians killed by SARS, not just during the protests, but years before. She talks about the systematic brutality that made NSAS necessary. And she asked the question that's haunting the nation. Why did you shoot us? The room is silent because there's no good answer. There's no justification that makes sense. You can't spin firing live rounds into peaceful protesters waving their own national flag. The panel promises to investigate, promises accountability. Nigerians are skeptical. They've heard promises before. But something has shifted, and it's deeper than policy or politics. Nigerian youth have discovered their power, and that's a revelation you can't undo. For years, they've been told they were apathetic, too focused on Japa, the slang for escaping Nigeria, living for better opportunities abroad, too obsessed with social media and parties and getting by. NSAS proved that was a lie. When given something worth fighting for, when shown that their voices could matter, Nigerian youth didn't just show up, they built something extraordinary. They built a movement that coordinated across dozens of cities without a single leader. They raised millions in cryptocurrency faster than traditional NGOs could open bank accounts. They provided medical care, legal support, food and security for thousands, all organized through WhatsApp groups and Twitter threads. They showed Nigeria and Africa what the youth are capable of. And that knowledge is dangerous. Because once people know their own strength, you can't convince them they are weak again. December 2020. The protests have ended, but the government's retaliation hasn't.
Bank accounts remain frozen. Some protesters are still in detention. Others have fled the country, not Japa for opportunity, but exile for safety. The Nigerian government is running a playbook as old as authoritarianism itself. Punish the organizers, terrorize the participants, make an example that says, this is what happens when you challenge us. But they're fighting a different generation with different weapons. Every frozen account becomes a new story. Every detained protester becomes a cause. Every act of retaliation gets documented, uploaded, shared across networks the government can't control. The youth are learning, adapting, building new strategies for new realities. And across Africa, people are watching. In Uganda, youth protesting against Museveni's government tweet EndSARS in solidarity. In Kenya, protesters demanding police accountability use the same digital organizing tactics. In Ghana, Togo, Cameroon, young Africans are taking notes. EndSARS wasn't just a Nigerian movement. It was a template. It showed a generation of African youth that they don't have to accept the way things have always been. That peaceful, organized, digitally savvy movements can shake governments, can command international attention, can force conversations that power wants to avoid. It didn't achieve all its goals. SARS was officially disbanded, but police brutality continues. Justice for Lekki remains elusive. Most of the systemic changes demanded haven't materialized, but revolutions rarely succeed in their first iteration. What they do is plant seeds. Nigerian youth haven't stopped organizing. They've just evolved. They are running for office, not waiting for the old guard to die off, but actively challenging them in elections. They are building tech platforms to track government spending, to report police brutality, to connect citizens with legal resources. They are creating art that keeps the memory of EndSARS alive. Musicians reference it in lyrics, filmmakers document it, writers weave it into novels and plays. Because they understand something crucial. Movements don't just change policies, they change consciousness. An entire generation of Nigerians now knows what it feels like to stand together and demand better, to organize beyond ethnic and religious lines, to believe, even briefly, that change is possible. That memory doesn't disappear. It lives in them. It waits. And the government knows this. That's why they're still afraid, why they still monitor social media so carefully, why they panic whenever hashtags start trending, why they proposed social media regulations and tried to ban Twitter in Nigeria entirely for months in 2021. They know EndSARS wasn't the end of something. It was the beginning. Because youth movements are like wildfires. You can put one out, but the conditions that created it, the dry brush of injustice, the heat of frustration, the spark of hope, they remain. And it only takes one match.
March 2024. University of Lagos. A lecture hall filled with students, first years most of them. They were teenagers when EndSARS happened. Some participated, most watched from home, glued to their phones, watching history unfold in real time on their Twitter feeds. Today, a professor is teaching a course on digital activism and social movements in Africa. On the screen behind her, #EndSARS, case study in decentralized resistance. She clicks to the first slide. It's a photo from Lekki Toll Gate, October 15th. Young people sitting peacefully, flags waving, sunset behind them. Before the shooting, before everything changed. What made this movement different? She asks the class. Hands shoot up. These students have grown up analyzing EndSARS the way previous generations analyzed independence movements or anti-apartheid struggles. It's already history. It's already a legend. No single leader, one student says. Cryptocurrency funding, another adds. Real-time documentation. International solidarity. The professor nods, all correct. But there's something deeper. EndSARS represented the moment when African youth realized they could build parallel systems, that they didn't need permission from the old structures to create new ones. She pauses, looking at the young faces in front of her. What made this movement different, she asks the class. Because here's the truth that EndSARS revealed. The old systems of power in Africa, the ones built during colonialism and maintained by post-independent elites, they are afraid of the youth. Not because the youth are violent, but because they are competent. EndSARS proved that Nigerian youth could organize better than the government, could provide services, medical care, security, food distribution, conflict resolution more efficiently than state institutions. For 2 weeks at Lekki Toll Gate, they built a functional micro-society that puts the government to shame. No corruption, no tribalism, just young people taking care of each other and demanding a country that works. That's the threat, not protest, but proof of concept. Proof that they don't need the old guard, that they can build something better themselves. Around Africa, that proof is replicating. In Kenya, youth-led movements like Power 254 are using similar digital organizing tactics to fight corruption and demand accountability. In South Africa, #FeesMustFall showed what happens when students organize beyond traditional structures. In Sudan, young people literally overthrew a dictator through sustained creative resistance. A new generation of African activists are emerging, and they are not following the old playbooks. They are not waiting for political parties to represent them, or for international organizations to validate them, or for older generations to hand over power. They are building their own platforms, creating their own media, funding their own movements, telling their own stories. And they are doing all this while navigating the same challenges that make activism in Africa so dangerous: authoritarian governments, economic instability, police brutality, digital surveillance. But here's the truth that #EndSARS taught them. Even when you lose, you win something. You win experience. You win networks. You win the knowledge that you are not alone. You win the memory of what collective action feels like. And those victories compound. October 20th, 2023, 3 years after Lekki, across Nigeria, small gatherings mark the anniversary. Not large protests, the fear is still real, but vigils, art installations, online tributes. Young Nigerians post photos of those who died, they share their stories, they tweet #EndSARS Memorial and #Lekki Massacre and refuse to let the government memory hole what happened. Because this is the other lesson of EndSARS: documentation is resistance. Every video saved, every testimony recorded, every name remembered, it's all evidence against the official narrative. It's all proof that they were there, that it happened, that it mattered. Governments can rewrite official histories, but they can't delete millions of personal archives scattered across phones and hard drives and cloud storage around the world. The truth is decentralized now, and decentralized truths are almost impossible to kill. But the fight isn't over, it's just evolved. Police brutality in Nigeria continues. Young people still get extorted at checkpoints. The systemic issues that created SARS, poverty, corruption, lack of accountability, they are all still there. SARS was disbanded, but it was replaced by SWAT, Special Weapons and Tactics. Different acronym, same officers, same behaviors. The government thought changing the name would be enough. They still don't understand that the youth aren't fighting a name, they are fighting a system. And you can't rebrand your way out of systemic rot. Yet, there are victories, small ones, important ones. More young Nigerians are running for office than ever before. In the 2023 elections, youth candidates challenged entrenched political dynasties. Most lost, but some won. And every youth voice in government is a crack in the old foundation. Digital accountability platforms are thriving. Apps that let citizens report police brutality, track government projects, monitor election results. The tools EndSARS protesters built aren't sitting idle. They are being refined, expanded, institutionalized. And perhaps most importantly, Nigerian youth are no longer naive about power. They understand now that governments don't give up control willingly, that reform is a fight, not a negotiation, that every right they have, someone before them bled for. That's a hard lesson, a painful lesson, but it's the kind of lesson that builds movements that last. Around the world, the Nigerian diaspora carries EndSARS with them. In universities, they study it. In workplaces, they organize with the skills they learned from it. In their communities abroad, they mentor younger Africans about civic engagement, digital organizing, the power of collective action. DJ Switch, who live-streamed the Lekki shooting and had to flee Nigeria, is in Canada now. She still speaks about that night, still advocates for the victims, still refuses to let the world forget what happened. Reno Odwala continues her activism, more careful now, but no less committed. She knows the government is watching, she knows she's on lists, but she also knows that silence is complicity. And thousands of other young Nigerians who were at Lekki, who organized protests in their cities, who donated to the cause, they are all out there, living their lives, but carrying EndSARS with them like a scar that is also a badge. They know what they are capable of, they know what they survived, and they are teaching others. This is how movements persist, not through continuous protest, but through generational knowledge transfer. Every university student learning about EndSARS in that lecture hall is a potential organizer. Every young person who watches the documentaries, reads the articles, listens to the stories from those who were there, they are being equipped. They are learning what worked and what didn't, where the movement was strong and where it was vulnerable, how to organize in hostile environments, how to protect themselves and each other. They are preparing for the next one. Because there will be a next one. The conditions that created EndSARS, economic inequality, political corruption, police brutality, youth unemployment, they haven't disappeared. If anything, they've gotten worse. Nigeria's economy is struggling. Inflation is crushing families. Young graduates still can't find jobs. The government still treats its youth like problems to be managed rather than citizens to be served. The powder keg isn't empty, it's refilling. And it's not just Nigeria. Across Africa, the median age is 19. 19. The continent is overwhelmingly young, increasingly connected, and deeply frustrated with leadership that offers them nothing but the same tired excuses and broken promises their parents heard. African youth are watching governments fail to provide basic services while politicians drive luxury cars. They are watching natural resources get extracted while they live in poverty. They are watching corruption flourish while they can't afford school fees. And they are organizing. Sometimes publicly, sometimes quietly, sometimes online, sometimes in community spaces. But always building, always preparing. EndSARS showed them it's possible, showed them they are not alone, showed them that when they organize beyond ethnic and religious lines, they are powerful enough to shake governments. That's a genie you can't put back in the bottle. So yes, NSAS failed in many traditional metrics. SARS was disbanded, but police brutality continues. The government was shaken, but not toppled. Justice for Lekki remains elusive. But revolutions aren't measured in immediate victories. They are measured in consciousness shifts, in capacity building, in the slow, patient work of teaching people that change is possible, that they deserve better, that they have power. And by those metrics, NSAS succeeded beyond anything its early organizers could have imagined. It created a template for digital resistance that's been studied and replicated across Africa. It proved that youth-led, leaderless movements could coordinate at scale. It demonstrated that cryptocurrency could fund activism beyond government control. It showed that international solidarity can be mobilized in hours through social media. It changed what African youth believe is possible. And belief is where every revolution begins. Present day, Lagos, Nigeria. The Lekki toll gate is operational again. Cars stream through, paying their fees, heading to their destinations. From the outside, it looks like nothing ever happened here. But if you look closely, if you know where to look, you can still see it. Someone painted a small mural on a nearby wall. Just initials and a date. 20.10.20. It gets painted over by authorities every few months. And every few months, it reappears. The youth haven't forgotten. They'll never forget. Because #NSAS wasn't just about police reform. It was never just about SARS. It was about a generation drawing a line in the sand and saying, we deserve better. Nigeria deserves better, and we are willing to fight for it. That line doesn't disappear because the protests ended. It doesn't fade because the government cracked down. It's drawn in the consciousness of millions of young Africans who saw what happened and learned the most important lesson. The system won't change until they force it to change. Today, young Nigerians are still organizing, just differently. They are running civic tech startups that make government data accessible. They are creating news platforms that report without fear. They are building community networks that provide the services their government won't. They are teaching each other digital security, how to organize without getting caught, how to protect their identities online, how to move money without government interference. They are preparing because they know the next wave is coming. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but it's coming. Because the fundamentals haven't changed. Nigeria still has the largest youth population in Africa. Those youth are still educated, connected, and watching their country's potential get wasted by corruption and incompetence. And young people everywhere eventually run out of patience. The beauty of #NSAS, the thing that terrifies authoritarian governments across Africa, is that it proved decentralization works. You don't need a charismatic leader who can be arrested. You don't need a central organization that can be infiltrated. You don't need foreign funding that can be cut off. You just need shared anger, shared vision, and smartphones. That's it. That's the blueprint. And it's being copied, adapted, improved. In Ghana, Youth are organizing against illegal mining using #EndSARS tactics. In Uganda, they are fighting for free elections. In Kenya, they are demanding police accountability. In South Africa, they are pushing for economic justice. Each movement learns from the others. They share strategies in encrypted group chats. They study each other's successes and failures. They are building a Pan-African resistance network that exists in the digital spaces their governments can't fully control. This is the future of African activism, and is already here. But let's be clear about the cost. Young Africans who organize this way live with fear. They live with surveillance. They live knowing their governments consider them threats. Some carry trauma from protests that turned violent. Some carry guilt for friends who didn't make it home. Some carry the weight of continuing while so many were forced to stop. And they carry the frustration of fighting systems that are designed to outlast individual movements, of winning battles but not wars, of changing minds but not laws. This work is exhausting, it's dangerous, and oftentimes it's thankless. But they keep doing it because what's the alternative? Silence? Acceptance? Waiting for politicians who failed them for decades to suddenly develop consciences? No. The youth have seen too much. They know too much. They've tested what collective power feels like, and you can't unknow that knowledge. There's a video that still circulates on Nigerian Twitter. It's from October 15, 2020, 5 days before Lekki. The camera pans across the toll gate. Thousands of young people sitting peacefully, singing, laughing, taking care of each other, building something beautiful. Someone in the crowd shouts, "Is this not the Nigeria we want?" And the crowd roars back, "This is the Nigeria we want." Watch that video and you understand what was really at stake at Lekki, what the government was really trying to kill when they sent in the soldiers. It wasn't just a protest, it was a vision, a glimpse of what Nigeria could be if young people were allowed to build it, if their voices mattered, if their lives had value. That vision didn't die on October 20th. It got planted deeper into the soil of every young Nigerian who was there, into the consciousness of everyone who watched, into the DNA of a generation that will never accept the old normal again. So here's what #EndSARS really was. It was a warning shot, a message from African youth to African governments that said, "We are done patient, we are done quiet, we are done accepting your excuses. We are educated, we are organized, we connected, we are global, and we are not going anywhere. You can shoot us, you can arrest us, you can freeze our accounts and force us into exile, but you can't stop what's coming. Because we are the majority, we are the future, and eventually, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually, the future always wins." That's the real legacy of #EndSARS. Not policy changes or police reforms. Those are important, but they are not the point. The point is the awakening, the realization, the transformation of an entire generation from apathetic bystanders to active participants in their own liberation. You can't legislate that away. You can't ban it or arrest it or shoot it into submission. It's done. It happened. An entire generation of African youth learned their own power, and that education is permanent. October 20th will always be a scar on Nigeria's history, a reminder of what governments do when they are afraid of their own citizens. But October 8th through October 19th Those 12 days when young Nigerians built something beautiful at Lekki Toll Gate. Those days when they showed the country and the world what they're capable of. Those days are a promise. A promise of what Africa will look like when its youth finally get tired of waiting for permission to build the future. And that day is coming. The youth are still here, still organizing, still learning, still preparing, still believing that Nigeria, that Africa can be better, and still willing to fight for it. If this story moved you, if #EndSARS matters to you, if you believe African youth deserve to be heard, show it. Like this video. Comment below with your thoughts, your experiences, your own stories of activism and resistance. Subscribe to Rise of African Nations, because these are the stories that don't get told. These are the narratives that history tried to bury, and we are bringing them to light, one story at a time. Read the full article in the description below, complete with primary sources, interviews, and analysis you won't find anywhere else. Share this with someone who needs to know this story, with young Africans who need to know their power, with anyone who still believes Africa's best days are ahead of us. Because they are, and they are being built by youth who refuse to accept the way things have always been. Subscribe to Rise of African Nations. Support this work. Help us tell the stories that matter. Because African brilliance, African resistance, African power, these aren't footnotes in history. They are the main story. And we are just getting started.